In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, but was he a hero or was he a villain? Hey guys, what's going on? I'm sure you have all heard of the great explorer Christopher Columbus. You know, the guy that's kind of sailed across the Atlantic Ocean trying to find a trade route to Asia? No? Doesn't ring a bell? Well, was Christopher Columbus a hero or was he a villain? We hope to find out today as we dive deep into history to find out the truth about Christopher Columbus. Get it? Dive deep? Because it's the ocean that he sailed across? No? Okay, I guess I'll stop now. When Chris started trying to get funding for his trip, lots of European countries rejected him until around 1486 when Spain changed their mind and agreed to fund him. Before his trip, Chris negotiated terms with King Ferdinand II and Queen Isabella to gain significant power and wealth from his voyages. His contract, the Capitulations of Santa Fe, also made him the admiral, viceroy, and of course the governor of any land that he came across on his journeys. He could also keep 10% of any objects that were found in the new lands. This evidence proves that Mr. Columbus was actually pretty selfish. He started his first voyage in 1492 to find a trading route with Asia. His fleet consisted of 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. The Santa Maria was the ship that Mr. Columbus was on. These ships were actually pretty fast for their time. They had an average speed of 4 knots and had a top speed of 8 knots. One of the first places that Columbus and his crew discovered was Hispaniola. On Hispaniola, he came across the native tribe of the Tano people. The Tano people were a very friendly and welcoming group of people that were 100% willing to trade with the Europeans. But the Europeans, being the people that they were in the time period that they were in, had other ideas. Shortly after the discovery of the Tano people, the Europeans forced them into slavery. Mr. Columbus wrote this in his journal, and quote, "They were very well built, with very handsome bodies and very good faces. They do not carry arms, or know of them. They should be very good servants." End quote. Within a few decades, the Tano people all died because of the diseases that the Europeans brought and how poorly they were being treated. In 1499, Columbus was stripped of governor of Hispaniola after the king and queen found out about how the colonists were treating the native people. Even though Columbus got into some trouble with the king and queen, they allowed him to go on 3 more expeditions to find a trade route. Today, what Columbus did to the native people would be considered very wrong. Granted the fact that if someone were to go exploring today on a boat, the places that they would discover would probably already be discovered. If only they had Google Maps and satellites back then. Come on, Lars and Jens Rasmussen, why couldn't you have invented Google Maps back in the 1400s? Speaking of the 1400s, slavery was still around at that time. It didn't really get deemed as something that was bad until around the 18 to 1900s. It was kind of the norm for people to have slaves at that time. The Europeans just wanted to find a new trade route and happened to come across the native people in a new land. The native people were also very nice to the Europeans, which may have led to their downfall. But hey, it wasn't their fault that they weren't as technologically advanced as the Europeans. If someone came to your house in a boat about 15 times bigger than yours with guns, when all you had was just a measly little bow and arrow, you probably wouldn't want to have a Wild West style showdown, resulting with the guarantee of death or your money back, now would you? So, you may ask, how does this Christopher Columbus guy and his explorations affect the world today? Well, if he never did go exploring, Europe probably wouldn't have gained too much, and we wouldn't have a holiday dedicated to Mr. Columbus, now would we? The native people probably would have also been given the chance to really evolve without the Europeans giving them diseases and mistreating them. Today, native people are still around, but they lost a lot of their land. Their cultures were also greatly affected by the Europeans that came to North America. In the end, I'd probably have to say that, in my opinion, that Christopher Columbus is actually probably more of a villain. Sure, Chris allowed the exchange of ideas, cultures, plants, animals, but he did also kind of kill a whole entire tribe and spread diseases across North America, and he also helped destroy the cultures of the native people. Mr. Columbus probably could have done his whole explorer job without greatly affecting the native people. Sure, you may argue that the spread of diseases across the land was kind of inevitable, but still, he intentionally took people as slaves and mistreated them. Even though he did all of these bad things, North America probably wouldn't be the same without him. But hey, that's just history and my opinion. Thank you guys so much for watching, even if you wanted to or not.